Story 1. The Porch Light. You ever notice how some houses keep their porch light on every single night, like a little yellow eye that never blinks? In the quiet, cookie-cutter suburb of Oak Ridge, there was one house like that. At the end of a sleepy street, a pale yellow glow that never went out. Most neighbors just figured it was an elderly couple, maybe a little forgetful, trying to scare off burglars. They whispered about it at block parties, but no one ever really gave it a second thought. One rainy Tuesday night, a young delivery driver named Leo had a late drop-off. It was his last one of the night, and he was exhausted. As he pulled up, the house was completely dark, except for that single, unwavering porch bulb. The light seemed thick, heavy. It didn't seem to illuminate the porch so much as occupy it. He felt a strange pull, an urge to just stand and watch it. Shaking it off, he grabbed the package and walked up the slick, wet path. He knocked, the sound echoing unnaturally loud in the silence. No answer. He knocked again, harder this time. That's when the package in his hands, softened by the rain, slipped open. He looked down and saw what was inside. Dozens of smaller, unopened boxes of high-wattage light bulbs. Confused, he peered through the foyer window, and his blood ran cold. The entrance hall was stacked floor to ceiling with unopened packages, all addressed to different people. People he recognized from the local news. People who had gone missing in town over the last few years. When police finally entered the house, it was empty and thick with dust. Just stacks of unopened boxes inside, and the porch light still burning bright. The forensics report noted two things. First, the electricity to the house had been cut off for weeks. Second, the bulb itself had no filament. There was nothing inside it to burn, just light. A rookie deputy swore that when he looked directly into the bulb, for a split second he could see a perfect, tiny reflection of himself, walking up a path toward a warm, welcoming light. Story 2. The Backyard Gate. Suburbs love their fences. They're a sign of safety. Neat, predictable white picket lines that say, "This is mine." But the Carter family's backyard was different. When they bought the house, their supposed forever home, it came with a strange feature, an old, heavy wooden gate, dark and splintery, that didn't match the rest of the new white vinyl fencing. It looked ancient, and it led to the woods. Their 8-year-old son, Josh, was the first to notice something was wrong. He swore he heard whispers coming from it at night, soft rustling sounds like secrets being told on the wind. Sometimes the gate would be unlatched in the morning, even after his dad, Tom, had locked it tight with a heavy bolt. Tom dismissed it as a faulty latch, the wind, an overactive imagination. But one night, Tom was woken by the loud creak of the gate swinging open. Annoyed and determined to fix it once and for all, he went downstairs. He stormed out into the damp grass of the backyard only to see a second, identical backyard on the other side of the open gate. It was his yard, but wrong. The grass was brittle and black like ash. The sky was starless and a bruised purple. And in the window of the other house, his own family stood watching him, waving slowly with too many fingers on their hands. He slammed the gate shut, his heart hammering in his chest, and threw the bolt. He ran back inside, locking the door. His wife and son were on the couch watching a movie, safe. They hadn't noticed a thing. The next morning, the Carter's house was for sale, the family already packing. The gate was gone, replaced by a new, seamless section of white vinyl fencing. The neighbors just figured they got a sudden job offer. But Tom knows the truth. He lies awake every night, listening. He catches things now. The way his son's smile doesn't quite reach his eyes. The way his wife's reflection in the window sometimes lingers a second too long after she's walked away. He closed the gate, but he's terrified he wasn't fast enough to keep them from crossing over. Story 3. The Street with No End. Mark was late for curfew. Again. Figuring he could shave off 10 minutes, the teenager took a shortcut home one night, turning onto Willow Bend Drive. It was a street he'd seen 1,000 times but never walked down. Same familiar cul-de-sac vibe, same neat rows of SUVs and perfectly trimmed lawns. But as he walked, a strange feeling crept over him. No matter how far he went, the street just stretched on. He started to feel a rising panic. He told himself he was just disoriented. He passed a house with a little gnome on the lawn. A few minutes later, he passed it again. Same house, same porch, same Toyota in the driveway. He heard a dog barking from behind a fence, and then, a block later, he heard the exact same bark again, a perfect repeating loop. He pulled out his phone. The GPS showed his little blue dot right in the middle of Willow Bend Drive, exactly where he should be. But the street in front of him was an endless, repeating pattern of suburban dread. Finally, out of desperation, he stopped at a random door and knocked. He heard footsteps, and the door creaked open. An older man stood there, his face lined with a weariness Mark couldn't comprehend. His eyes were the same color as Mark's, but they held a deep, ancient terror. "You shouldn't have kept walking," the man whispered, his voice shaking. The teen didn't need to be told twice. He ran. He scrambled through backyards, vaulted fences, ignoring the familiar layout of his own neighborhood, until his lungs burned. He never found his way back to Willow Bend Drive again. But sometimes, when driving late at night, he swears he sees that street sign out of the corner of his eye, and he takes the long way home now, always. Story 4, The Pool Cover. It was Sarah's first time babysitting for the Harpers. They seemed nice enough, but when they gave her the tour, their voices grew quiet and sad when they got to the back patio. "And that's the pool," Mrs. Harper said, gesturing to a large, lumpen shape covered by a thick, dark green tarp. We keep it covered ever since the accident last year." Later that night, after she'd put the two young kids to bed, Sarah was watching a movie when she heard a faint sound from the baby monitor. It sounded like a child's laughter, but when she checked, both kids were sound asleep. She dismissed it as static. Then she heard another sound, this one from outside, a soft, rhythmic splashing. Her heart began to beat a little faster. She crept to the window that overlooked the backyard, and she saw it. The thick tarp over the pool was rippling, as if something was moving in the stagnant water beneath. Then, her breath caught in her throat. Small handprints, pale and childlike, pressed up against the cover from underneath, sliding slowly across the vinyl. She screamed and ran to check on the two young kids, but only the boy was in his bed. The girl's room was empty, her bed covers thrown back. Her blood running cold, Sarah looked back outside. A corner of the heavy pool cover was now pulled back, revealing a patch of black, still water. A trail of small, wet footprints led from the pool's edge, across the patio, and right up to the back door, which was now standing wide open. The splashing hadn't been from something trying to get out. It was from something inviting a friend in to play. Story 5, The Ringing Phone. Nobody uses landlines anymore. So when the Brown family moved into the old house on Elm Street, they thought the antique rotary phone in the hallway was a charming, retro feature, a fun novelty. That first week it was. Then it started ringing, always at 2:07 a.m. The first time, it woke the whole house. They let it ring until it stopped. The second night, it happened again. Annoyed, Mr. Brown unplugged it from the wall. The third night, at 2:07 a.m., it still rang. Now deeply unsettled, they had the phone company come out. The technician was confused. He confirmed there was no active landline connected to the house at all. It was physically impossible for the phone to ring. But that night, it did. Always at 2:07. Finally, after a week of this, the father, exhausted and terrified, decided to answer it. He waited in the dark hallway, and as soon as the ringing started, he snatched it up. There was static, and then a child's faint, cold voice whispered, "Stop sleeping in my room." The next day, a horrified Mr. Brown checked the town's property records online. The previous owners had lost their son in a tragic accident. His body was never found. The address of his bedroom in the old blueprints, the exact room the Browns' young daughter was now sleeping in. That night, the phone rang again. The father bolted up, but he was frozen in bed by fear for just a second too long. He heard his daughter's small feet on the hallway floor. He heard her pick up the heavy receiver. There was a long, terrible silence. Then he heard her speak. But it wasn't her voice. It was a little boy's, raspy and cold. And it said, "Thank you. I can go to sleep now." The connection had been made. So the next time you hear a strange noise in your house or see something out of place, maybe don't ignore it. You never know what's waiting on the other side of a door, at the bottom of a pool, or on the other end of the line. Have you ever experienced something truly unexplainable in your own home? I'd love to hear about it in the comments. If you want to keep exploring the darkness that hides in plain sight, be sure to subscribe and turn on all notifications so you're the first to know when a new video drops. If it gave you the chills, give us a thumbs up. See you in the next one. Stay safe.